Hello, I am Zunko, also known as History Big Sis.
Hi, I'm Zundaman, the fairy.
Zundaman, do you know where is the capital of Japan?
Of course it's Tokyo.
Then, do you know why it is not Kyoto or Osaka? Kyoto used to be the capital, and Osaka had a large population and a prosperous economy.
I don't know. I've been taking naps during class all day.
What a helpless kid. Well, today I'm going to give you the historical background on why Tokyo became the capital of Japan.
I am counting on you. What is this painting?
It's the Battle of Sekigahara, an important event related to our theme. It is a battle that is something of an extravaganza for history buffs. With all the stars of the Warring States period gathered together, and it is a turning point in history.
I am looking forward to it.
The end of Warring States period. First of all, let me give you the answer in a nutshell. Tokyo is the capital city because, after the death of the man who unified Japan, there was a struggle for succession. And the man who won the battle set up his headquarters in Edo, later Tokyo.
I don't understand it at all.
Don't worry, I'll explain one by one. The story goes back about 400 years. First, from 1467 to 1615 AD, Japan was in the Warring States period. It was a period of social turmoil caused by fierce nationwide battles between warlords. It was this man, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, who defeated many rival warlords and unified the country.
I see.
Hideyoshi died in 1598. His successor Hideyori was only 5 years old.
What, wasn't he still a kindergartner?
That's right. So, before his death, Hideyoshi chose the most influential man among the feudal lords. He asked this man to support Hideyori until he grew up.
Wow, who is this scary-looking old man?
Rude boy. This man is Tokugawa Ieyasu. He is the founder of the Edo shogunate.
What is the Edo shogunate?
It was a samurai government that lasted for 260 years until modern times. I will explain it in detail later.
I understand.
Political skirmishes began between Tokugawa Ieyasu, who was growing in prominence while neglecting the still young Hideyori, and warlords who supports Hideyori with the vassals of the late Hideyoshi.
Just when things were finally at peace, they might go back to a war-torn world. But wasn't Tokugawa Ieyasu also a subordinate of Hideyoshi? Why did he betray the Toyotomi family?
Ieyasu fought Hideyoshi once. After that, Hideyoshi became the leader of Japan, so he had no choice but to follow him. The situation is the same for the other warring lords. Besides, they were living in the Warring States period. The order of the previous era had collapsed. Depending on one's ability, anyone had a chance to become the leader of Japan.
Okay, maybe most people were ambitious. What will happen now?
Collapse of the balance of the five great elders. Under the Toyotomi regime, there were 5 powerful feudal lords: Tokugawa Ieyasu, Mori Terumoto, Uesugi Kagekatsu, Maeda Toshi Ie, and Wukita Hide Ie. They are referred to as the 5 great elders. Let us take a look at the power of each of the 5 elders. Ieyasu, 2.56 million koku. Mori Terumoto, 1.12 million koku. Uesugi Kagekatsu, 1.2 million koku, Maeda Toshi Ie, 830,000 koku, and Wukita Hide Ie, 570,000 koku.
What is koku?
It is a unit of measurement of a feudal lord's financial power. And each 10,000 koku is roughly equivalent to about 200 men.
Tokugawa Ieyasu is by far the most powerful.
But no matter how strong Ieyasu is, he cannot win alone.
Why not?
Well, listen to me a little more. Apart from the 5 great elders, there were also 5 magistrates who were under the direct control of Toyotomi Hideyoshi. They were in charge of judicial, administrative, financial, and other affairs. One of them was Ishida Mitsunari. He is the central figure of the anti-Ieyasu forces.
He seems to be something of a nervous wreck.
Hideyoshi hoped that 5 leading feudal lords and 5 leading vassals would run the government while supporting his son Hideyori. For better or worse, they were each in check and could not raise an army so easily. It can be said that the system created by Hideyoshi was functioning perfectly.
I see.
However, Maeda Toshi, one of the 5 great elders, died. He managed to keep the clash between the various forces in check after Hideyoshi's death. But finally, they lost their hoops. They became uncontrollable. How the battle started. In February 1600, Uesugi Kagekatsu, one of the 5 great elders, orders his retainers to renovate the castle and build a new one. Ieyasu, in response, sends a document asking him to come before him and explain the reason for the renovation. Kagekatsu refused to do so.
Why?
Because he decided it was a false accusation to start a war. Sure enough, Ieyasu suspects Kagekatsu of building up his military power and raises an army to defeat him.
The way he did it was very cruel.
At this point, the Battle of Sekigahara is only 5 months away.
Things are finally starting to move. I am very excited.
Battle of Sekigahara. In July, Ishida Mitsunari raised an army. Mitsunari's argument is that Ieyasu is trying to make himself the leader of Japan while neglecting the young Hideyori.
I see. I think he is right.
That's why he raised an army in the name of defeating Ieyasu instead of the young Hideyori. Ieyasu, upon learning of Mitsunari's army, cancelled the conquest of Izu, Kagekatsu's territory, and headed west. This time, Ieyasu confronted Mitsunari.
Ieyasu, who was supposed to be fighting Kagekatsu, came against him, which must have surprised Mitsunari. What happened to the other lords?
They were torn between being loyal to Toyotomi and following Ieyasu, who had the momentum. Either way, the die is cast. On October 21, 1600, the Battle of Sekigahara, which would later be called the Decisive Battle, broke out. The forces led by Mitsunari were called the West Army, while those on Ieyasu's side were called the East Army. Unfortunately, there are no exact figures on the strength of the two armies. Some say that both armies had around 60,000 men, some sources say 80,000 in the West, and others say that the East Army had over 100,000 men. It seems that the debate over whether the West or the East had the advantage in terms of troops will continue.
Okay, how did they position their troops?
It is said that the Western Army was positioned in a high position and the Eastern Army in a low position.
Which side had the advantage?
Unless you are surrounded, it is basically better to take a high position. The main thing to be careful of in a mountaintop position is that logistics will be cut off, but the Western Army, which took a high position, did not have to worry about that. In fact, it is said that the battle was initially in favor of the Western Army.
Normally, it would seem that the West would win.
However, the Western forces were totally out of control. In history, battles in which a few defeat many have occurred from time to time, but in almost all of them, the side with the majority was not in control. The battles of Pharsalus and Sarhu are good examples. Some feudal lords secretly agreed with Ieyasu to preserve their territories after the war.
They were cunning.
Don't blame them. It was a difficult time, different from today. They had to use force and strategy to ensure the survival of their own families and subordinates.
I understand the situation, but I can't sympathize.
Now, it is said that the first to move were Inaomasa and Fukushima Masanori of the Eastern Army. Both units attacked the army of Wukita Hideyoshi, and the Battle of Sekigahara began. Many units including Kuroda Nagamasa attacked toward the main camp of Ishida Mitsunari, and his and Konishi Yukonaga's units answered the attack. A back-and-forth battle ensued. This attack resulted in the death of Shimazaki Sakin, and Kuroda, Kata, Hosokawa, and others attacked Mitsunari at once.
Which side is winning?
The battle line is still at a stalemate. The key man here is Kobayakawa Hideaki, who has the largest force in the Western Army. At this point, he was just watching the battle.
He was not participating in the battle, was he?
That's right. The development from this point onward differs greatly depending on the records, but to sum up, Kobayakawa Hideaki switched sides to the Eastern Army.
What?
It seems that Kobayakawa Hideaki had been in touch with Tokugawa Ieyasu for some time.
There was another dirty bastard here.
There is a theory that Ieyasu, who was angry with him for watching the situation, fired a cannon into his camp, and he rushed to move his army. Aside from whether or not there was an actual bombardment, Agawa, Akaza, Wakisaka, and Kutuki also turned to the Eastern Army in response to Kobayakawa Hideaki's move. Mori and Wukita were surrounded, and then came a string of betrayals. Mitsunari's sworn friend Otani Yoshitsugu also lost his life. Konishi Yukinaga and Wukita Hideie's forces were destroyed, and finally, Ishida Mitsunar's troops were also destroyed.
Oh, it's all over. Total collapse, a terrible defeat. What happened to Mitsunari?
He escaped but was captured and killed by low-ranking soldiers.
He was betrayed a lot. And the way he died was miserable. Poor guy.
So, today, I explained the historical background of why Tokyo became the capital of Japan. This story is quite long, so we'll stop here for now.
To be continued in the second half.
Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, make sure to subscribe for more.
Please hit the like button. See you soon.